Welcome to part two of the lesson, um, which pretty much, let me see if I can pull that quote back up. I'm going to have to finish it up. Once it processes, I can change the title. Um, Fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord, which is Yahweh Bashem Shai, the Lord of hosts. So going back to Isaiah 25, we'll start at 1 again. O Lord, thou art my power. I will exalt thee. I will praise thy name, for thou hast done wonderful things. Thy counsels of old are faithful in faithfulness and truth. For thou hast made of a city an heap, and that's dealing with America. This place is going to become a heap. Of a defense city, a ruin, a palace of strangers, to be no city. It shall never be built. So America will never be built again. And we read scriptures like Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Isaiah 13, Isaiah 34, Isaiah 47, Revelation 18, Revelation 17, and so on and so forth. This place, America, which is known as Babylon the Great, once it's destroyed by thermonuclear destruction, will never be inhabited ever again. The only thing that will inhabit this place will be the wild beast of the desert, unclean fowls, or birds, unclean animals, reptiles, so on and so forth. That'll be what will inhabit this place. Unclean animals. That's why the scriptures call them devils, because they're unclean. You can't eat them. It says, therefore shall the strong people glorify thee. And how are the strong people going to glorify the Lord? Because the Lord is going to be magnified when he destroys them. Because here it is, America has been pompous. The look is more stout than their fellows or other fellows, something like that. And they are the top superpower on the planet Earth, the ones to beat, so to speak. Like when you have in boxing or in wrestling, well, really not wrestling because that's not really real, but in boxing and different sports where you have a person that's the best or the greatest, the ultimate goal is for all the contenders to formulate a way to destroy that individual or to beat that individual, and when they defeat that individual, which nobody thought anyone could ever do, then that person becomes, the shit, so to speak. They become the top individual, the top contender. So when the Lord takes his devil down, he's going to take that crown away from him. That's why Yahweh Shai is called the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because he's coming down to take all of the crowns away from all of these different nations. So it says, the city of the terrible nations shall fear thee. Why are they going to fear the Lord? Because they're going to see the total devastation that the Lord is going to cause. And this appearing of the Lord is going to be so devastating that it's going to make the whole earth rock to and fro from the missiles pelting down on it. It's going to give it that horrific, brutal, devastation, where the birds in the heaven, the fish in the sea, the people on the earth are all going to be shaken back and forth. Wild beasts of the, of the jungle, the lion and the bears and all these fierce animals are going to be afraid because of this shaking. They're not going to know what the hell is going on. Leviathan in the sea is going to be shaken from the presence of the Lord and the destruction and the devastation. He's even going to get nervous because it's the presence of the Lord. This is why the scriptures call the day of the Lord total darkness. It says, for thou hast been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm. And it's the only through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai that the elect will weather this storm, because this storm that's coming is going to be fierce. That's what the Lord said, the time of Jacob's trouble, a time like there was never since there was a nation. There was never a time on the earth where the judgment of the Lord caused the whole earth to shake so violently back and forth that if it wasn't for the Lord holding the earth together, the whole earth would just explode. You know, so this is gonna be something, man. It says a refuge from the storm. So the Lord Yahweh Bashamal Shah is gonna be that refuge from the storm. And matter of fact, this was the scripture that I was looking for yesterday's lesson, but I couldn't think where it was. I knew it was in Isaiah, but I wasn't sure. But it was actually here in the 24th chapter. I thought it was in 32. It says a shadow from the heat. So the Lord is going to be our protection. That's why it says, enter ye in to your chambers and hide thyself as it were for a little moment until the indignation of the Lord be overpassed. Which the indignation of the Lord is what? Those missiles. Because the word indignation means righteous judgment. And that righteous judgment that's coming is going to be the indignation of the Lord, that zeal, jealous, the jealousy of the Lord that's going to smoke upon this kingdom. It says, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as storm against the wall. And this blast is talking about this nuclear destruction, that nuclear blast that's going to come and eviscerate and melt, like the scriptures say, going to melt all these different elements that you see, whether they're telephone poles, fences, Jersey barriers, trees, cars, trucks, planes, tanks, whatever is on the soils of America will be melted to pitch. It says, thou shalt bring down the noise of strangers, because these nations are popping off. Doesn't the scripture say that they make a tumult? That's a big noise. They're making a tumult. The scriptures also say, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Because you have Esau and these nations that are raging so much and talking they shit, that even you have a lot of Israelites that are caught up in that hype. They're caught up in that hype. So that's why I said, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? It says, as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud, the branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. And meaning that tall tree with its branches, which represent Esau's government, their military, the different leaders that are in prominent positions, they're all going to be brought down. That empire that stood so proudly, that oppressed the whole world, is going to finally be brought down. And that's why we read in Isaiah 14 about how the whole earth is going to be at rest once this devil goes down. And we're witnessing his fall. We're witnessing him fall, even though they're trying to keep that stiff upper lip, because Esau's proud, but we're actually seeing their fall. And Yahweh Shai said it best 2,000 years ago. I seen Satan as lightning fall from heaven, because the Lord actually saw the fall of Esau, the so-called white man, falling from their power. Why? Because he's coming back to take him down from his power. That's one of the main characters he's going to visit when he comes back. Who is this that cometh from Edom? And in this mountain, meaning in America, shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things. Why? Because the Lord is going to burn this place. He's going to totally annihilate it. It's going to be like a preparation for a feast. Everything is being gathered together. But you have to prepare the different meats and breads and all that, but you have to put them in the oven to cook them. So the Lord is going to cook them. It says, all people, a feast of fat things, all people, it says, a feast of wines and on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees, well refined, because the Lord is going to refine this place. And that's the only way that America could ever be cleaned of all the blood that was shed upon this country. As we read in the book of Numbers, that the blood of the land cannot be cleansed except by the blood of him that shed it. And that's even further proof that the Edomites that are here today are the descendants, which are the reincarnation of those Edomites that were here back then. That's why it says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. Now, when we understand the scriptures, we know that the fathers don't pay for the sons of the children, and the children don't pay for the sins of the father. If I said that correctly, Everyone pays for their own sins. So these Edomites that committed all these atrocious and heinous acts, during slavery, during the colonialism of America beginning in the late 1400s, they're here today again, and they're going to be eviscerated with this land. Some of them are going to escape because they're higher ups. They're going to escape to wherever they're going to be, but they're going to be the first crop of slaves. But the rest that are left here on the soils of America, they will be totally annihilated. And then that's the only time when total peace and harmony and justice will be meted out and served. So it says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. And that's what's happening right now. See, we always just read the 7th verse, but there's a whole lot more meat to this chapter. So we're in the point now where the Lord is destroying in this mountain, which the mountain represents America, the covering, the face of the covering cast over all people. Because here in America was the beginning of the revealing of the mystery, of what we're teaching today in the scriptures, of who the devil is, of the judgment or the future judgment of America, who the people of the earth are today in their respective names, not the names that were given to them by Esau, by the conquerors, and all of the different mysteries and things that we're learning about from the scriptures. This is the place that the Lord is taking all of those mysteries away, and revealing who who these people really are, and their agenda. And it started here in America, and it went out throughout the four corners of the earth. That's why you have brothers in so-called Africa, you have brothers in so-called Europe, and so-called Asia, in Australia, so-called Australia, India, wherever the brothers are, South America, North America, Central America. Well, actually, North America is Babylon the Great. Central America, the Caribbean islands, Mexico, Canada, and throughout, teaching his word. Why? Because the mystery started here. The Lord started revealing here. So that's why it says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. Because this was a stronghold that was keeping all of those lies alive. And the Lord used his prophets here in the midst of Babylon the Great to reveal all of these mysteries that have been covered up. All of this deceit and fraud that has been covered up. That's how it happened. It started as a very small group of men. And look what it sprouted into. Like that grain of mustard seed. It says, and the veil that is spread over all nations, because that is the beginning of the destruction of a lie, is a revealing of the truth. And the truth, when the lies are confronted with the truth, the lies cower back, because the truth stands bold. And it makes the lies to shrink. And that's what happened in this country. And now that the revealing has taken place, we're in the sentencing stage now, and soon the judgment will come. And when the judgment comes, that's the end of it, which is the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, by thermonuclear destruction. It says, verse 8, he will swallow up death and victory, because Yahweh Shai is going to swallow up death and victory. Because the men that have not, the scriptures say, have not tasted death from their birth, there's going to be certain men here on earth that will be delivered into the chariots and will not see death, and will convert from this life and these bodies into the new bodies, into the kingdom, without seeing death, and never will they see death again. So there's a lot of great things that are on the horizon. It says, and the Lord power will wipe away tears from off all faces, meaning the faces of the Israelites. It says, and the rebuke of his people. Who are his people? The Israelites. So vocab, you're wrong. When you went to Revelation, it says 21, it says that, we shall, the Lord's going to wipe away all tears from everybody. No, it's the tears from his people, the Israelites. And we know who his people are. It's not you nations, because you nations have to pay for what you've done to us. Especially you Edomites, have to pay for not just what you did to us, but what you did to the earth, the animals and everything. It says, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. And why? Because Israel is scattered literally throughout the four corners of the earth. Salakia. It says, and it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our power. We have waited for him, right? Because the Lord woke us up, we were leaning to what? To a so-called white God, to a so-called Jesus Christ or other white meat, a so-called white man, thinking that the angels were white, thinking that the Israelites were white, so on and so forth. But now we're clinging onto the Most High. Some jakes were so gone that they were clinging on to different gods of other nations, Buddha and the Hindu gods, and different other shit that they was into, Islam, so on and so forth. It says, and it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our power. We have waited for him, because those that wait for the Lord shall not be ashamed. It says, and he will save us. So we're looking for salvation from our power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Not from no reparations, not from integration into this society, not from having a better life, seeking seeking progress in a sinking ship, because pretty much that's what you're doing when you're trying to make a better life for yourself here in America. You're pretty much trying to make a better life for you in a ship that's sinking. Here it is, a ship is taking all kind of water, but your situation seems like it's starting to get better for you, but the ship's still sinking. So it doesn't matter how great your situation is, the situation really is only as good as your surroundings, and your surroundings is falling apart. It says, and he will save us. This is the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. And that's what we're waiting for. We're not waiting for no salvation from Esau and, waiting for the crumbs that come off the table of Esau and the other nations. We're waiting for the salvation that comes from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to where he's going to give us the whole pie, not just the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Because that's all we're getting right now is just crumbs. Whether it be from Esau, whether it be from the nations, but mainly from Esau. Because the Lord said that we will come to this man for the one of all things. It says, for in this mountain, verse 10, the hand of the Lord, for in this mountain shall the hand of the Lord rest. Why? Because the Lord is going to smash this place, but he's also going to deliver his people. It says, and Moab shall be trodden down under him. Why? Because the Moabites are here. Matter of fact, it was a lot of the Moabites that built up some of the train tracks, in this nation. When they had mountains, they had to stick sticks of dynamite in the mountains to blow holes so that they can put the tracks through. And that's why there was a term called a Chinaman's chance in hell or something like that, because they would lower a Moabite down by a rope with dynamite sticks. He would stick the dynamite sticks in it and light it, and if they didn't put them up fast enough, he would blow up with the dynamite. So Moab is here in this country, and they will be destroyed with this country, even as a straw is trodden down for the dunghill. Yeah, because they're proud too, and the scriptures say that these nations, they're going to obey us, they're going to bow to us, they will be submitted, they will be in subjection unto us, and those are facts. It says, and he shall spread forth his hands in the midst of them, and he that swimmeth spreadeth forth, as he that swimmeth spreadeth forth his hands to swim. And he shall bring down their pride together with the spoils of their hands. Yeah, because everything that these nations have, they stole pretty much. A lot of the substances that they have, they really got from us, because the world was made for our sakes. Remember that. It says, and the fortress of the high fort of the walls of thy walls shall he bring down, lay low, and bring to the ground, even to the dust. Yeah, because these Moabites are trusting in America too. That's why the scriptures say that Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. And all the nations drunk, and all the nations are mad. They bugged out. They've left their customs and the religions of their forefathers to cling on to what? To America, to this American culture. They've been Americanized, so they will go down with America. All right, Babylon the Great. So the other chapter I had was Isaiah 19, and we'll just get to the point. And I started 14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. And that's why everything is pretty much backwards. These people are drunk with the philosophies that have been pushed out there by Esau. That's why homosexuality is at an all-time high. And homosexuality doesn't just cover man with man, it covers woman with woman too. Because people have this thought in their mind that when you say homosexual, you just talk about two men. No. Homo means same, and sexual means sex, same sex. So women, homosexual. Men, homosexual. That spirit has been pushed out to where everybody accepts it. And it's damn near in every movie, in every series, in commercials. Everywhere you turn, that abomination is there. It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. Why? Because the Lord is closing the doors on America. This is America's final going out of business sale. And the final closing will be those missiles and the laser from the chariots. It says, in that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And it's going to be devastating, man. It's going to be very devastating when it takes place. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be a horrible sight and a horrible vision, that's going to take place and take hold of this place. Because the revealing part is pretty much done. The sentencing stage is just about done. So what comes after that? Revealing. You have discovery. You have sentencing, and now you have what? The judgment, which is the final of everything, the end of everything, the end all be all. It says, "In the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt," because the modern day Egyptians, which is Esau, which America is known spiritually as Egypt, there's going to be major race wars. There have been race wars in this country before, but not like this. And not just race wars, class wars, clashing between, the rich and the poor. You're going to have, you have a lot of militia in America. You have, the upper class, you have the middle class, you have the lower class, and all of them, there's going to be a great, when like Gerald Celente said it best, when people have nothing to lose, they lose it. And desperation causes people to do things that they wouldn't normally do just for survival. So it's going to get bad out here. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself. And this is why right now on a small scale, this is happening. People are afraid, beginning with Judah, the so-called Negroes. And then these devils pushing that Jake, or Judah is committing all these heinous crimes against these so-called Jews, these Amalekites, is causing even more fear of Judah. Because a lot of that bullshit that they pushed out there about Judah, it ain't true. But the perception is that it is, because whenever you turn around, all you see Judah, the tribe of Judah doing is foolishness. Crime and things of that nature. But they never show you the flip side of that. But that's all right. It says, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he hath determined against it, because this is what the Lord determined against this place. And there will be race wars in this country. There will be a lot of hardships, a lot of things that's going to happen before it's all said and done. And it's going to culminate in the destruction. That's going to be the final chapter in America. The final chapter of Babylon the Great. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. Now, what was the language of Canaan? That was that Hebrew. Because the earth at one time was of one language and of one speech. And we're returning back to our language, whether people believe it or not. And that's what we believe by faith, that the language that the Lord gave to High Priest Ariah that we speak today, we believe that that's the actual language. Because everything that the Most High does, you know, it's simple, you know, meaning that it's not hard to really be understood. And even the simplest things of the Lord that are so simple, unless he opens the people's minds, they can't understand it. You know, so the Hebrew language that we speak is very simple. There's two sounds to it, and it's not that hard to learn. Now, other languages are very hard to learn because they have so many intricacies into it that it'll take either you born into that and learn the language from a child, or you'll have a hard time trying to learn that language. And some people may even give up on the language to try to speak it, you know? So it says, and swear to the Lord of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt. And this is what's happening right now. These different camps that you see around the world, you know, brothers teaching this word, those are the altars of the Lord, pushing out the truth, you know, pushing this message of the gospel throughout the four corners of the earth. And that's what you see happening. Why? Because this is the doing of the Lord. You know, this is how the Lord said it would go down in these days. These are the prophecies that are being fulfilled, that are speaking right before our face. And the majority of Jake out there is blind to what's going on. It says, in that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And that's why you see what's going on. And this is making Esau nervous. And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt, for they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors. And that's what we're doing. We're crying unto the Lord because of the oppressors. And that's why in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, Lord's will, I could do a separate lesson on that. It speaks about them standing boldly before the face of such as have afflicted them and made no account of their labors. It says, and he shall send them a savior, which is Yahushai, and a great one, which is Yahushai, and he shall deliver them. And that's what we're waiting for. That's what we're waiting for, the deliverer, Yahushai, which means he is the deliverer, or he is the savior. Because that is the only way we're going to make it out of here. Because anyone that's left on the soils of America, I don't care how far you're dug in or how high you are, you will be destroyed. There shall be no flesh left on the soils of America, Babylon the Great. And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord, because you have Jake out here that has what? American citizenship. So they're known as African Americans or Americans in general, which is Egyptians, pretty much. Shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation, yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord and perform it. You know, and that's pretty much what it is. And that's why as you read on down, it speaks about the Egyptians being the Lord's people. It's not talking about the actual Egyptians from Mizraim. It's talking about the Israelites that have the title of American, you know, like they would have the title of Egypt or Egyptian. Like you had the Israelites in Egypt, they were Israelites, but they had Egyptian citizenship, you know. So with that, you know, that's been the lesson. I mean, I had other precepts that I wanted to go through. You know, if the Spirit hits me, maybe Lord's will, I could do a lesson on it later, you know, when I get a chance, you know, at my computer, because, you know, you're able to, you know, maneuver a little easier on a computer than you are, you know, without. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.